Good afternoon. Today we gather to join the family of the late Sergeant Carson Holmquist. Carson was a Grantsburg High School graduate in the class of 2008 and became a United States Marine after graduation. I would like to personally welcome Jasmine Holmquist, wife of Carson, Carson's son and daughter, Wyatt and Rylan Holmquist, Carson's mother, Brenda Holmquist, and Carson's father and stepmother, Tom and Sue Holmquist. I would also like to welcome the Grantsburg School Board members, elected officials, and dignitaries here today. Governor Scott Walker is here today to sign Senate Bill 447, which honors Carson Holmquist by renaming Highway 87 as the Carson Holmquist Memorial Highway. A contingent of Grantsburg residents and friends of Carson Holmquist and family petitioned elected officials to rename Highway 87 after Carson. Before we introduce the governor, I would like to note in June of 2009, Scott Walker was the keynote speaker at Grantsburg's Insight School of Wisconsin's graduation ceremony in Madison and received an honorary diploma. At this time, please join me in welcoming Governor Scott Walker to introduce the signing of Senate Bill 447.
Well, thank you, and it's great to be here at the high school with obviously all the students, with our veterans, and most importantly, the Carson family. We appreciate it so much. The chance to be with you today, pay tribute to a real hero, and appreciate being here at school. And thank you for all the students allowing us to do this here with you today. I think it's really important, as your principal mentioned, not only to sign this into law today, but to have this be a lasting tribute. You know, there's certainly last summer, we have people throughout this community, around the state, really around the country, paid tribute as part of the overwhelming amount of people who came out for the funeral services and the memorial then. But it's important on a lasting basis to have the naming of the state highway, Highway 87, be permanently set this way, and I think this is important. I grew up in a small town in south central Wisconsin, a small little city called Delavan, and this last year, for the first time, I had a chance to go to Pearl Harbor and see the memorial at the top of the USS Arizona. And it's interesting because this year's my 30th reunion in high school, so for any of you seniors, I think 30 years out seems like a long time away. It seemed like a long time for me as well. But one of the names I specifically looked for at that memorial was a gentleman by the name of Walter Volvio. Wouldn't make any significance to you, probably would make a lot of significance to a lot of folks, but for me it was something I always remembered because Mr. Volvio's name was on the side of our American Legion post because he was one of the sailors that died at the age of 18 on that day, Pearl Harbor Day. And even though I didn't know him, in our school we all knew that name because that was an important part of our community many, many decades after Pearl Harbor happened. And that was important because I went back and I looked and we found out a little bit about who he was, his family, about the connection to others, some of the people he knew, others he knew on that ship from Wisconsin, including the captain, who was from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, on that. And so you think, what will this mean not only to all of you, who obviously are just a few years behind where Carson was here at high school, but someday, maybe your kids, and maybe someday their kids, will still ask questions about why is that highway named after that gentleman, and who was he, and what does he mean? And he won't just be a name, it'll be someone real, someone who went to school here, who played football here, who was active here, someone who then went off and served his country, the United States Marine Corps, and who ultimately he, and as we all know, and a few other Marines and a sailor, made the ultimate sacrifice in defense of his country. That, in my book, and I think to all of us here, makes him a hero. And so I want to thank all of you for allowing us to sign us the law here. I want to thank our two lawmakers from the area, Sheila Harsdorf and Ab Jarko. Thank you so much for carrying this issue forward down in Madison. And with that, we're going to invite all the family to come on up, our lawmakers, others to join us. And just so the students understand, there's a whole bunch of pins here behind the picture, and oftentimes I get asked, why do I, or sometimes you see the president has all these pins. Why does it take more than one pin to sign this into law? Well, that's because we're going to make sure each of the family members gets this as a special tribute to today in recognition of this bill signing, but more importantly, of the lasting legacy of a great American hero. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us in this bill signing ceremony. At this time, students and staff, you may report back to class. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.